Hello and welcome back to The Road to Doomsday, the MCU REWATCH show brought to you by the Nerd Academy podcast. I am your host, Jarod Bachman Stubbs, and joining me, as always, is the lovely Miss Taylor.
Except no substitute.
Except no substitute. And we are continuing our journey into the multiverse saga through phase 4 and have arrived at Eternals, a movie that when it came out, I said people were being really overdramatic about how quote unquote bad it was. And I maintain that this movie is still quite good, if not perfect. I'm seeing a little bit more of the chinks in the armor here than last time, but we are not alone. We are joined by dear friend of the show, collaborator on Pro and Noob, co-host of the Comic Book Cast. It is one Mitch692.
Collaborator on my own show. Fantastic.
Collaborator of mine.
You said collaborator on Pro and Noob.
I collaborate with you on that, do I not?
Yeah, but you said
I guess he is there.
Okay. All right. I'm glad we're not even 2 minutes in. We're being just terminally pedantic. But Mitch, other person who appreciates Eternals, another Eternals appreciator. Some have said that the three of us may have been the only people who saw this movie.
We had Ricardo.
Ricardo did also.
Ricardo was there. The trenches weren't that lonely.
I've seen this movie 1.5 times. Now 2.5 times.
Indeed. And we'll acknowledge that halftime. Kind of hard not to. But before we jump into all of that, a brief word from our sponsors.
You know that halftime.
Yeah.
I know the halftime.
I told him about it. But a brief word from our sponsors over at Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the multiverse with their 3-time award-winning spicy mix as well as their mild and traditional mixes if the spice isn't for you. This former bartender trusts only one Bloody Mary mix, so use the link in the description down below and use the code TNAP, T-N-A-P, to help out your favorite nerds while you do it and shake up your Bloody Mary game for the rest of your days. Lady and gentleman, are we ready for some Eternals trivia?
Yeah, I hope nobody checks the comments that are only in the video that we're doing right now.
No, Jesus, Taylor. Okay.
Mitch, do you remember now?
I think I do, yeah.
So, for your first question, what member of the Eternals suit was entirely made by CGI due to a redesign of the costume? Throw to you first, Taylor.
Icarus.
That would be Thena. Oh shit! I didn't give Mitch.
You didn't even let him.
Thena.
Wow, now he's winning already. Thanks, Jarod. What a sabotager.
My bad. Chloe Zhao is one of the few women to win Best Director at the Oscars. How many women have won Best Director at the Oscars?
That's not an Eternals question. Fuck off.
Yeah, isn't it 3 actually?
It is 3. Chloe Zhao was the second.
I'm so good at this. Yay, women.
My follow-up question was going to be which one was Chloe Zhao, and Mitch threw a hissy fit. So that was like a follow-up.
It's not an Eternals question. That's Eli. You just pulled an Eli there.
Who has Gemma Chan previously played in the MCU?
That bitch from Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel.
Minerva.
She was the blue bitch.
The answer we were looking for was Minerva.
The blue bitch. I feel like we both got that right.
We did.
Thank you.
Sure. What connection does Eternals composer Ramin Djawadi have to the Blade franchise? And I will eliminate the obvious
Blade
now.
3.
He did not compose it.
Blade 3. Was he on the dance floor in Blade 1?
Taylor, you are screaming hot with your joke answer. He was one of the co-writers of Blade Trinity.
Oh, Blade 3, the first one. I said, okay.
That's crazy.
I was like, was he on the dance floor in Blade?
No, you saying, oh, was he involved in Blade 3? I was like, damn, yeah. Who voices Pip the Troll in the post?
Hold on. Let me do a cricket joke.
Oh,
instead.
do you know what? I watched this earlier and I couldn't think of his
It
name.
was a Seth Rogen.
I've just remembered it though.
Isn't it?
What's
It's
that?
not Seth Rogen.
No, it's Patton Oswalt.
It is Patton Oswalt, one of my all-time
Oh my
favorite
god,
comedians.
it's Ratatouille.
Was he Ratatouille?
Yeah.
It was Remy from
Wow, I
Ratatouille.
never knew that. God damn.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And now for our final question.
Is it also about Ratatouille?
And it's not about Ratatouille.
Since you're doing things totally out of order now and you're just asking whatever question you want.
No, this is the last question.
Mitch
What
knew what I meant. The Oscar
is-
question, you bitch.
What is the best movie that Selma Hayek has ever been in?
Dusk Till Dawn.
Which one is? Yeah, I would say the sexiest one. That one, 100%. Yeah.
I'm sorry. From Dusk Till Dawn is not the correct answer.
But it is actually.
As they say in the film I'm referring to, she is a breast of fresh ass.
Wild Wild West, Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider. No, you don't want nada.
Is the bitch. She is. How could I forget? That actually is my bad. That's 100% me. That's on me right there. Mitch mentioned a very hot movie she was in, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
She was in. I said the better movie. In fairness.
You did say the hotter movie that she was in, the movie she was sexier in, and unfortunately,
Therefore, the better movie.
Unfortunately, I could not. I was like, "Yep, that's the movie."
I think
she's
you
in.
guys need to put some respect on Rita Escobar's name.
No.
You know, Mitch, someday, whenever either of us visit each other and Jarod forces us all to watch Wild Wild West, I feel like maybe we can all come to an agreement.
I don't think you'll find that movie anywhere over here.
I think
unfortunately, Jarod
You won't
would
get through
procure it.
customs. No.
Do you think TSA will
I'll have
tackle
it
me because they're like,
downloaded
he's
on,
got a
like,
copy
an
of Wild
iPod.
Wild West.
Straight back to the States. No.
I'll bring a VHS tape.
But for a little bit of background before we jump in, the film Eternals was largely based, obviously, on the team originally created by legendary Jack the King Kirby. But the film took a lot of inspiration from the unfortunate Neil Gaiman run from the early 2000s. I was
Very good
watching
run,
the
though.
I was watching the behind the scenes documentary, and I was like, "Oh, you can tell this was made many years ago, like 5 years ago." With how excited they were to name drop Neil Gaiman every 13 fucking seconds, and I was like,
Yep.
The film sought to tell a story of self-discovery and explore humanity through all-powerful androids who got to witness man evolve over the course of thousands of years.
Synthezoids, if you want to be serious.
Synthezoids, if you're nasty. Chloe Zhao was brought on to helm the film around the time that she won her Oscar for directing Nomadland in 2020. Salma Hayek described working with Zhao and the set of The Eternals as feeling as though they were working on a massive independent film. Eternals, unfortunately, had a budget ranging from $236 million to $276 million.
And did they get it all back? I bet they got it and double.
No.
I bet they got it and double back. I bet.
To break even, Eternals needed to make anywhere between $500 million and $600 million, and the film only grossed $402 million at the box office, marking a continuing streak of box office underperformances for the MCU. Now, part of that budget is a lot of this was filmed on location. A lot of this was,
Death of the blue screen.
Practical effects. We are not anti CGI Luddites here on the podcast.
I am.
But you're wearing blue.
Get it.
Jared's wall is blue as well.
No.
This is where everybody finds out that the Nerd Academy podcast was actually like a COINTELPRO operation by Big Blue Screen.
Wouldn't surprise
Not
me. In
me.
fairness.
I've never been overtaken by blue screen. This is Jared's sweatshirt. I just found it.
but
He would have wore it on the blue screen.
But obviously, it's shot on location, so that's going to balloon budget a little bit. This cast is absolutely star-studded. That's going to help balloon the budget a good bit, and also
So
budgets inflated during the
Jolie.
COVID era, obviously, because it became harder to run a set without
Bill Skarsgård.
a lot of overhead. Yeah, I couldn't use that as a trivia question because she noticed his name in the credits and figured out that he played.
I can read, unfortunately, for Jared.
I was hoping you wouldn't notice him though. But yeah, again, I don't care about box office. All the conversations are a self-fulfilling prophecy. We've had this conversation on both the Shang-Chi episode and the Black Widow episode. I feel no need to really revisit it.
Yeah, but it was funny that Shang-Chi made 30 million more and everyone was like, oh my God, it did so well. It was like,
yeah, because they didn't have Angelina Jolie in the movie ballooning the budget.
It's true. It's true.
Not that I'm complaining. I want her back. Bring her back. Whatever you have to do, write that check.
I think she's done.
No,
I think they're
write
all
that
done.
check.
No.
Write that check. Write that check. They'll come back.
I hope so.
Mitch, what was going on? I say this like we didn't do the review for this movie on.
I was going to say, wasn't I on it?
What's funny is you actually got me right before I had COVID for the first time. Because I vividly remember spending that entire episode sounding like I was stuffed to high heaven. I was like, guys, I think my allergies are really killing me.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, realized I had COVID.
Something was killing you.
That's for sure. But how were you feeling going into Eternals? How were you feeling coming out of it when it first came out? What was going on for Mr. Mitch?
I was really excited going into it because I'd known the Eternals for a while. I really like the Eternals in the comics.
Big Angelina Jolie fan, I assume.
I like Angelina Jolie. Yeah.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Yeah.
What
hindsight, they could have given her a bit more to do in this movie, but
honestly, they could have given her her own movie. I would have watched it, even if she had nothing to do during the entire thing.
Coming out of it, I remember really liking it. And then it was just trenches for years. Eternals PTSD is still a thing.
Yeah.
No Man's Land is a tough place to exist,
It is. It's hard being this right.
Jared,
where were you the first time you watched this movie?
So, just to kind of get an elephant in the room out of the conversation as quickly as possible, because it's kind of a downer and kind of hard to extract from the viewing experience. The night when Taylor, Spencer, and I saw this opening night, a young man had a medical emergency and passed away during the movie.
Yep. Some of us were there for the entire event, and it was extraordinarily traumatizing.
Yeah, it was weird for me in particular, because as details kind of started to trickle out, I was still tending bar at the time. I found out this gentleman's stepdad was one of my regulars, and found out that apparently this gentleman went to Spencer's church. Young guy. It was very tragic. It was weird. We went back to try to see it again that weekend. For me, it was very much
in the same theater somehow.
Yeah, we ended up in the same auditorium
and the same seats.
For me, like a lot of like making sure we went to go back to see it was kind of this was a really like freaky, fucked up experience, and I immediately was like, if I don't go back, this is I'm never going to be able to revisit this movie unless I do it this weekend.
Sometimes
and I'm going to get
that are extraordinarily singular. Lightning strikes, and it strikes an individual place at an individual time, and everyone around to see the lightning strike is able to experience it. But unfortunately, it is a life-changing event. No matter who is around to experience it, no matter who it strikes, it is a hugely difficult time for everybody involved, and unfortunately, those people who are just around for the lightning strike have a trauma that is extremely singular in nature, that they can only share with those other people who they've never met, who were there for the exact same experience, and then who they will never see again. And it is difficult, it is hard to grapple with, but we wish all the best to the family of the individual who was not able to finish this film. But nonetheless, it is a thing that was experienced.
Yeah, it's hard to take away from the experience, you know, like even when we went back to see it, like a lot of that was like I said, like I was like I was like if I don't rip the band-aid off now, I'm going to have a hard time ever going back to this theater. So like I need to like do the exposure therapy within the next 48 hours
Yeah.
or I'm going to get weird about it.
And I have a very different, or not difficult at all, but different relationship with death and
Yeah.
the nature of it. So, I do wish absolutely the best to the family and to the people who knew the young man who passed away. He was very, very young. But unfortunately, again, lightning strikes, and we cannot control who is struck by it. But yeah,
But
that's a thing that happened the first time we watched this specific movie. During
and
like the druid, I control people's minds. Like now there's a deviant here,
yeah,
and
it's not like the
Thena's
deviants
having
ambush his like
the
little
yeah.
village.
It specifically like I recall the movie getting shut off when Thena started fighting Rob Stark, Icarus.
Yeah.
When Angelina
That's
Jolie started
crazy,
fighting
man.
Rob Stark, and I was like, thank God the movie just got turned off.
But yeah, all that to say, I don't think we really have much to say about the Where Were You? Because I just remember that happened and being really annoyed by the discourse. That it felt like a lot of people.
Yeah, because I was like, how bad was your experience? Not worse than mine. Okay. Sorry.
I mean, not worse
Whatever.
than theirs, in fairness.
No
But
worse than, yeah, that one, the other kid who was, yeah, no. But
all
the
that to
people who were
say,
bitching,
I remember the time being basically filled with the what an insane thing that happened, you know, in such a bizarre circumstance, mixed with being annoyed by really shitty fucking discourse.
Yeah,
Um
it was bad.
which, you know, again, like I don't necessarily think or know that the MCU discourse has gotten any better over time, but I remember this new strand of like anti MCU, like almost like the only way I can describe it is almost hate glazing. You know?
Yeah, because you had that lockdown period when everyone went fucking crazy
Yeah, like
with
everybody kind of
everything, and
collectively
then
lost their fucking minds. Um and you know, getting to see this movie for a second time like the whole way through and like again it's been so long, I haven't had a chance to revisit it. Um
did you
the
watch the
movie
IMAX version?
we the theater we went to did not have IMAX. The version we just watched on Disney Plus has like the fake IMAX. Which if I have a criticism, I don't typically mind the fake IMAX on Disney Plus. You know, sometimes it gets really exciting, you know, because it kind of like revs you up for okay, some cool shit's about to happen when that aspect ratio goes big. I have to say, for the version of the Eternals, there were some like just innocuous, just random establishing shots that were beautiful. Chloe Zhao is a phenomenal director, um, but it did it so willy nilly that it actually became really distracting. How often the aspect ratio would change almost at random, like at least with like the Iron Man movies or the Ant Man movies. Like if there was a shot with even a little bit of like CGI in it, the aspect ratio changed and you kind of could expect that. But this one, like it would just be like, is the camera out wide? IMAX baby. And it just happened so much it came a little distracting. But that's just kind of a nugget of criticism specifically for this version. But the film is absolutely beautiful. I do think you really start to feel its runtime.
Yeah, do you mean like
I
the
felt it
halfway
more
point
watching it today than I
where
ever
I
have
was like,
before.
"Holy Jesus, Lord Christ, this is the halfway point of the movie."
Yeah. And again, and like granted, like, we did Endgame, it's not like this is the longest MCU movie. But I did not realize how much it feels like this movie drags basically between the first time one of the deviants attack Cersei, Sprite, and Dane in London, up to basically linking up with Kingo. And even then, like, it's still like really kind of lethargic until we get to the deviant attack in Druig's village. It like I don't mind a long movie. I'm on the record of saying, like, I love long ass movies. Um, I will never complain about getting a film that is like has a really long runtime, because in my opinion that just means the artists were given the ability to have as much of a runway as humanly possible to tell a fully fleshed out story. Typically, I don't mind that, especially as entertainment continues to shrink. Retention time is beginning to become more and more of a concern. While all of that is happening, give me a 2.5 hour long movie. Unfortunately, sometimes that time is not used the most efficiently.
I think the
And
biggest sin for the runtime of this movie, though, is they all just feel the same. They're all way too stoic in the introductions until you
Oh,
hit
all of the
Kingo.
Eternals, like all of
Mm,
the actual, yeah.
mm.
The only
It's like,
time that I
okay,
feel
like,
like
have a bit of
they have their own personality is where we get Sprite in the beginning, where Dane is finally like, "No, I believe everything all of a sudden. She told me everything." And Cersei is like, "What the fuck do you mean she told you everything?" And he's like, "Well, I didn't believe it before. I thought she was a little loon, but now I believe everything." And I was
I
like,
just thought this
"Aw."
child was being an asshole, and it turns out this child is thousands of years old
and also an arsehole.
and
And
also an asshole.
also an asshole.
Um, but yeah, I just the pacing really brought it down for me a little bit. Like, that's one of the kind of things that I saw through on a rewatch, just kind of like sitting in this very seat. Um, that weighs it down, and I also found myself kind of at odds with the stated objective of the film and the tone of the film, because upon a rewatch, and especially upon watching most of the Eternals Assembled documentary on Disney Plus while I was getting ready, like right after watching the film, um, I don't think this is as epic as they wanted it to be.
No,
No.
no.
I
There's three
find
movies happening here, and they should have just focused on one.
Yeah.
yeah, big facts, and I almost feel like you could have like done again, like in a world where there's multiple Eternals films, um doing a movie that is all about fighting the deviants, and then doing a film that is about, oh, this is what Earth is actually designed to do, being like the celestial egg, and then
Or
doing a
even just
film
like
that's
doing
about,
a celestial egg slash this is what humanity is. And
yeah,
then the third one being like,
where they like kind of want to take the fight to Erisham, and like the
yeah,
judgment has begun and all of that stuff. Um, like I feel like in this film there are three, or there's a great trilogy in it, like you said, Mitch. But it feels like they're trying to do all of these stories at once, and it bloats it, and it takes away from, I throw the term mythic around a lot, and despite the fact that the movie is literally about finding out the origins of a lot of our myths, figures like
which,
Athena, figures like
yeah,
Gilgamesh, like
Jared had his own problems with during the
which,
film,
and
which
I'm
I
gonna get
don't
to that here in a
disagree.
minute. Like, I was like, okay, like it's about all of these figures, but like none of them actually feel that mythic to me, and I think a great deal of
But we
I think
that,
don't
that's the
get
Taylor
to
point.
see
alluded
them.
to it.
No.
I mean, we don't get to see them do a ton. Like, realistically.
No.
Well, and part of me that I
We hear
realized
they do a bunch, but we don't get to see that they do a bunch. And it's like sometimes I think that we get really caught up in a like tell don't show narrative
Mm.
when we are begging for a show don't tell. Like
It's
please
kind of
just
funny because Fantastic Four First Steps is the movie this should have been.
yes.
Just like bang, here you go. They're all together.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
doing stuff in the
And
past.
if we could have flip flop some of this, like where we get them just where the final battle of Eternals is them defeating the deviants and then them just getting to become part of the world. That I think is a great story. I think that's a great endpoint because it leaves so much to be desired. Where the end of the movie that we do get is so who the fuck is going to talk about the giant island space guy? What are we going to do about the giant marble statue who is somehow his veins instead of iron are adamantium? What are we doing with that? Where are we going with this? We get nothing. Like what would have been great is if we had this is how we defeat the deviants and Ajax is like, you know, choose your own paths from here. See you bye. The end credits being, you know, one or two of them in a future path where we are currently
I
because
almost
they
stepped
are
on a
immune
rake
from the
there.
blip. They're immune from the blip because they are not living creatures. So like we could have gotten this is them killing the deviants. Bam, now we're in the present. They have all chosen their own paths, and we get to see a clip of them each during the highest point of that 5-year blip. Like, what are you guys doing? What's going on here? Because they have no risk. They're synthezoid and like they are not real, they are not living creatures, so therefore Thanos could not blip them.
See, it's funny whenever you mentioned like the post credit, I was like, oh yeah, and that's where you begin the show, like Tiamat in the egg and like beginning to wake up, and I almost said the rumbling from Tiamat, and then went.
No.
Look
But
what you've done to me. Look what you've
and
done.
at the
You did
third
this to
movie of the
yourself. You wanted
trilogy,
it.
the third movie of a potential trilogy would be Tiamat waking up and then being able to do that whole thing. But like the middle movie is them being like, this is what we're capable of, really, without the control of Erisham and yada yada.
I agree with so much of that, and like part of what kind of took the wind out of the sails for like the mythicness of it, for me personally, is that I very quickly realized I think part of the big problem is Sprite telling the the people of
Yes,
Babylon
yeah, he
about
did.
Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh not just being his own myth. That humanity witnessed this big, stocky guy throwing down with these gigantic monsters. You know, and they went, "Oh, dude, holy shit!" And that story builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and a myth begins to take form around it, and becomes a legend, as opposed to like Sprite is telling these stories, and it almost feels like there's an element of we're here to not just help them advance and not just keep them safe from the deviants, but inspire them to be greater, even though that idea is completely devoid from this story. Like they go out of their way to talk about how that's not our mandate. And if that's not your mandate, why are we doing this specifically? It almost feels like there's like a subplot or like a big idea that was in a cut of this film early on that got slowly whittled away at. And now there's this like big glaring thing where it's like, the I only know this Star Trek term because of Knowledge Fight, but it feels like they have like a primary directive. Like where in Star Trek, it's if there is a kind of if there's an undeveloped civilization that is not at our level, we are best to not interfere with them because we might kind of take them off course in a very unorganic way. And it feels like the Eternals have their own primary directive where it is leave them to their own devices, except for when we are kicking deviant ass. You know,
Oh, yeah.
and we show up, we kick deviant ass, and what they say about us is what they say about us. But other than that, we got to dip. And just the existence of Sprite telling these stories, you know, it takes away from the nature of how, you know, Athena becomes Athena, you know, Mercari becomes Mercury, you know,
Macari.
yeah, my beautiful Mercari. You
That was
know,
racist.
I've been doing that voice since this movie came out, and that shit's funny as hell.
Wow.
Barry Keoghan also cheated on Sabrina Carpenter, and he deserves to be made
He
fun of.
did cheat on Sabrina Carpenter. Let's be so serious. And
Did
honestly,
ya?
who would cheat on? If you got the balls to cheat on Sabrina Carpenter, you got the balls to get made fun of.
Not for his appearance, but for a very specific line delivery that I've been obsessed with since this movie came out.
But
Doesn't
also
excuse
for
racism, though, Jared.
every reason.
Either way,
Wow.
I
He
feel
kinda
like
sucks.
they just kind of sell the idea of the Eternals short by telling the stories themselves. And then they never really expand upon what could make them even more interesting by showing we built our own myth so that humanity could yada, yada, yada. Whatever the yada, yada is, we did it for humanity. They needed legends, they needed stories. And now in the modern age, in a post-Avengers, post-blip world, look how important it was that humanity cared about storytelling and humanity cared about heroes and legends. That's why we could take a backseat. That doesn't get expanded upon. That doesn't get explored. It feels like all of the weirdest, wrongest choices are kind of made about what the Eternals are on Earth.
Yeah.
I can take or leave the synthezoid thing. Mitch,
I'm
you
not a
know
huge
better than
fan.
me. That's
I'm not a
not the
I'm
huge
case in the
fan.
also not
comics,
a huge
correct?
That's
fan,
not what they
but
are. No.
That's what I thought.
whatever. It just
Can
makes
you
it
give
like you get sorry, you get like the excuse as to why they are not affected by the blip in that immediate like, oh, well, they're synthezoid androids, so like therefore we don't have to be concerned about their piece in the greater narrative that we the MCU have established as like what could affect them.
I don't even
But
think it'd be a
no,
big deal if they
go
got
ahead.
blipped.
No, but I think it would actually. Like I think I think the way that they are established in this film, yeah, I think it would make a huge difference if they were blipped. But like I think that introducing that just is a like get out of jail free card is like why we're not we don't have our like we don't have the greater narrative like pressing down on us right now. And Ajax even says like, oh, the blip like delayed the
The birth
eruption
of Tiamat,
the
yeah.
yeah, so you know, but they brought it all back all of a sudden, so now it's going to happen right away because it was going to happen back then, and now they half of humanity, half of everything was destroyed, so it stopped happening, and now all of a sudden it is definitely going to happen right now. But Mitch, will go back to Jared's question for you. Go ahead, Jared.
What was the question again?
Well, I was just getting ready to say, because again, this is more of your area of expertise. Can you give like a brief rundown as to like the Eternals mythology as it is in the comics?
I can't remember exactly what they are. I know they're not synthesoids or androids or robots. They're more organic than that.
I remember that portions of these characters are based in obviously the Greek gods, but like the Olympians specifically. I don't know how much of it is or how much of it got carried over because obviously we do get in Thor Love and Thunder, we do get the introduction of another set of characters who would throw off the nature of that being
You do,
a
yeah. I
fact.
forgot about that. It's the same in the comics. You still have
Yeah.
Zeus and everyone, and you have all the Eternals right there.
So
So I'm
yeah,
really struggling to remember exactly what the whole deal is with Eternals. It's been so long. Oh
thank
my
God
god!
we're
Because
not
I
in a
also think
trivia
it's
match.
interesting that they work
Thank
in
God
that
we're not in a
element
trivia
that
match, Mitch. You'd actually be losing to Jared for the first time.
Yeah,
I mean, but I
he's got to
know
have a
like in
bone
the
at some point.
comics there is like an element like they acknowledge like with the Harry Styles with his cameo.
Oh, yeah.
The brother of
The
Thanos.
the whole
Because
brother
obviously you
Thanos
have the
thing.
whole like. There's a whole faction on Titan that was a thing. Half of them stayed on Earth, half of them went to Titan. Then you had Thanos' parents and that whole thing. Titan gets ruined and destroyed. It's they've also changed it in the last
whole
Thanos run, I
thing.
think, and I can't remember half of that.
Because I know they also did like an event recently that had to do with like Erishim showing up and like doing the judging
Did
of
they?
humanity semi recently. Because I know there was a whole thing where like everybody basically got like their own like trial, like a bunch of different characters. Like I think one of Peter Parker's dead loved ones came back for something. I can't remember if it was Ben or Gwen. There was one of those like, oh, this is why I got to start reading comics again. Never got a chance to catch back up on it.
Sounds like a reason to stop, in fairness.
I disagree. I like that the shark is eternally jumped.
And that's
But yeah,
I love my Celestials and stuff. Like that's not
But-
what a host is. Goddamn Marvel.
but I also with this, going back to what you're talking about with this feeling like three movies kind of smushed into one thing. I do legitimately wish we got more with these characters, like so badly. Like aside from the fact that like this is the closest
Well,
we've
yeah,
gotten.
Obviously.
But like
if it
aside from
wasn't
like,
three movies swished into one, then we would have gotten more with these guys.
I mean, but again, that's assuming this is a world where the movie doesn't, let's be real here, kind of bomb at the box office.
What?
You
Is
know,
that what you're telling me from earlier? Is that what happened?
yeah, honey.
Goddamn, that's crazy.
Imagine
like, finding that out 5 years later. That's crazy.
Damn.
But
I thought I remember vividly how full the movie theater was, but I guess it really wasn't.
Taylor was like, "Are you telling me there's a Mandela effect where I thought this was $1 billion movie?"
What?
It should have been, in fairness.
It should have been, and I wish it was because aside from this is the closest we'll get to seeing Mahershala Ali as Blade.
Kit Harington is Dane Whitman.
Kit Harington Black Knight would have been cool as shit. The adventure to go confront Erishim and like the trial with Erishim I think would have been really cool and really fascinating. There's just so many cool things that this movie ends on that it's like this may not be in my top 5 or maybe even in my top 20 necessarily. But I think that in Eternals 2 and maybe even in Eternals 3 would have had potential to be like really fascinating storytelling that could make good on these ideas of what is humanity to a being who is like even like from either direction is barely human on a definitional level. You have we are a synthezoid and therefore are inorganic and like our humanity is up for debate there, but you also have the element of we are, it's in the name, eternal beings that transcend humanity in that direction. So how human can I be if I am not organic, nor am I mortal? Like how
they're very mortal in this, unfortunately.
Sure, mortal in terms they can be killed, but they are undying. Like they will not die of old age.
But even then, the movie goes. The movie's like, "Hey, mad weary's a thing. Like they eventually just get dementia and die."
Well, she actually doesn't die from that, and she wouldn't die from that.
Well, she might have done.
But she wouldn't. She's just remembering all of the past lives that they were supposed to have forgotten, and she will kill her fellow Eternals. But
that's if they don't kill her first.
If they can prevent that from happening, then they can prevent that from happening.
I think that's my biggest problem, though. Like
he overcomes it by killing Bill Skarsgård.
Like they need to have like the regeneration pods or something. Just show them coming back.
Yeah,
why they're Eternals, because this movie does not do that.
Yeah, but Ajax, that's her whole power is that she can heal them, and then as soon as she dies, then we don't know how it happens from there. We assume that it just works.
But yeah, I think I come away with this, and my biggest takeaway is I wish I had more. Like I really truly wish we got more of this. It's just a shame, and it gets used as a cudgel because this movie did not perform well, and it had to deal with all the things that the rest of Marvel at this time was dealing with. These are new characters. You cannot expect these movies with brand new characters. We are digging into the bag of the obscure shit. You know,
What do you mean?
yeah,
Star
Michael
Fox?
Rooker's favorite word, fucking obscure. You know, we're digging into the bag here. You know, these are so many of them new characters, so many characters that didn't even have much name
You're
recognition.
talking about Star Fox right now, and you're
I
acting he is such a small time character, and I don't understand.
yeah, I know. I all the times I saw Star Fox on like a fucking popsicle box when I was a kid,
Yeah,
hanging out with the X-Men and
crazy.
the Hulk and Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember that.
but you know, it has to deal with that. It has to deal with pandemic. It has to deal with the fact that as streaming is beginning to grow, these movies are having a quicker turnaround time. People watched at home. You know, it has to contend with all these issues, and it makes the discourse worse because you have like you have the wing of the fandom that goes, well, I have decided that the thing that I experienced when I was a little bit younger, before the world got really weird and really scary, during the pandemic, that this is going to be the pinnacle. And you had the people who were preying on people who already made up their minds on countless shows and movies before they came out, who are going from the anti-woke vector. So you have this incredibly diverse movie, you know, diverse in, you know, sexual identity, diverse in terms of race and ethnicity, diverse in terms of disability. You know, like, so like this movie is like as woke as it fucking gets for the MCU, really. And it was primed for attack. You know, it's like, oh, like the woke MCU bombs at the box office after the girl power Black Widow movie and the Chinese fighting guy movie were also unsuccessful. Put that in big fucking air quotes. Because all of those come with caveats. Like, these are one of those instances where I can't like look at Eternals and go, this should have been bigger. Like, so much more should have been done for this film that like the universe could not control. You know, it becomes a punching bag among people who want to shit on this movie for underperforming. You know, people who call it boring, and you know what? I'll give you that because the movie drags like fucking hell. But you know, there is compelling character study here. There's great performances. You know, we all joke about Kumail Nanjiani for being the only man who ever got fit and got made fun of for it.
And now he's
but,
staying
like,
that way out of spite.
yeah,
He's like, I'm waiting for my movie, and I will wait.
I'm waiting for Kingo, a Marvel story, but you know, like Kumail Nanjiani, like he's great here.
He is, yeah.
He's really, really good in this movie, and I love the fact that they give him like such a human and real response to Icarus's betrayal, where he's like, "Hey, man, I agree with you guys, but like, I'm not hurting anybody for it.
Hmm.
I'm not willing to hurt y'all, nor am I willing to hurt Icarus. Peace." Like, that was a brave move for him to take himself out of the equation, like from a writing perspective, you know, to like take more players off the field. You know, I think the action is thrilling here. You know, the Taylor
best
is.
speedster. No.
I'll let you guys do your thing then.
Oh my god, I absolutely agree. I was so the whole time we were watching it, I was like, this is all I ever wanted from Quicksilver. I'm so sorry. I cannot understand how it is so hard to grapple with the fact that this character has one of the greatest power sets of all time, and yet every single time we're going to waste it. Every single time we're going to shit on it. And here we have Makari, who is demonstrating exactly how this power set should be used.
In fairness, Makari is quicker than Quicksilver. Quicksilver's slow.
We don't need let's not get bogged down in semantics, okay?
I mean, when you're like a cosmic speed level compared to,
let's not get bogged down in semantics, okay?
Taylor is reacting to Quicksilver getting power scaled the way everybody pretends I talk about Darth Vader right now.
Oh, pretend, yeah, sure.
He is my favorite character, always has been, always will be.
He's still a little slow
die for him. But it's whatever. Anyway.
The point is, Quicksilver should have done more stuff like this.
he absolutely should have been able to do anything like this. Like even
just smaller.
remotely similar. Like literally even remotely similar. Like I am not asking for him to be on exact par. Like I am just asking for the bare minimum for his power set to be at all displayed even remotely similar to how it should be. And it never is, and it never will be. Because if you give a speedster their accurate description of their powers, then you have no plot. Your story has no plot if you give a speedster the ability to do what they do. And I understand that.
Well, that's where you also have to introduce parameters where it's like any given speedster cannot do their story breaking thing at the drop of a hat. There needs to be extenuating circumstances to facilitate that. Like the Flash can't just break the time barrier willy-nilly. It has to be
Yeah,
framed
and
as
if
like he's
Quicksilver wasn't
experimenting
in
with it and he
the Civil
realizes he
War, he couldn't
shouldn't do
have
it.
just stopped Baron Zemo.
Yeah, but like with Mercari, like I also love that like at the time, like, you know, the CW Flash is like about to wrap up at the time when this is coming out. We've had two Quicksilvers, um, and a lot of and we've had like Ezra Miller Flash, which own bag of cats, but we've had a number of speedsters in cape shit at this time on the big screen in live action in some way, shape, or form. And what I love so much is so many of those, to varying degrees and to varying levels of efficacy, lean into the idea of let's look at the world through their perspective. While they're doing these incredible feats of speed, we get their perspective of everything's moving slowly because we keep up with them as opposed to being left in the dust with everybody else. And I think that audiences, kind of got, okay, we've seen this enough times. How else can you portray this? And I love the fact that this movie chooses to not have us keep up with Makari. Makari is just a blur. And when we see Makari in combat, the way they use this idea of like her being able to manipulate the air pockets she's creating, like there's such an inventive way of showing super speed in a combative setting. Like I said to Taylor, that first run she takes at Icarus on the beach, where he's just kind of like dazed after she just shoves him forward and he's kind of dazed, and we get that kapow, 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 blah, 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 and then just body checks him into the base of the volcano. I was like, that looked like a fighting game combo. That looked like I juggled somebody, playing a fighting game. And it's so, again, some of those things I wish we could have gotten more of. How would these ideas have been expanded upon? Icarus is another example of we have a character with a power set that is old hat for audiences at this point. How, like, we've been through how many live action Supermans. And at this point, we also now have Omni-Man and we have Homelander. Like, we get what a Superman type character does. And what was so fun about this is that, like, it kind of takes point from Cavill Superman, where there's like a casualness to the way the powers are used. You don't see a sense of magnitude with Icarus, the way he uses his powers, nor should there be. Like, I think that's brilliant that touches there. But it's in how casual it is for him that I think is such a great thing. Because even characters like Omni-Man, like Homelander, who would kind of be the kind of like the front of mind Superman, like here, like super powered people. He's just kind of in a pocket and is kind of unbothered. There's almost a flow state to it, where it's very effortless with him. That I absolutely loved. And those are just the characters with like power sets that we're familiar with. Then you look at somebody like Fastos that is basically doing a
technomancer. Yeah.
like a technomancer doing Iron Man shit without any of the hardware. Like that's the closest parallel you could make.
Icarus like in a prison of his own creation is absolutely one of the most like I don't have to display ultimate power to show that I have ultimate power.
It's the way he just whips him down. Just
And
that
it is sick
Ooh,
as fuck.
so good.
Like
So
sick
good.
as fuck. Like he just is like absolutely not heel like a dog.
Brian Tyree Henry is, I think, maybe my favorite performance in the movie. I remember loving him coming out and rewatching it. Like, and again, maybe it's a less is more situation where we get so little of Fastos for the most part
Mm.
that like that he's kind of like that extra like little seasoning on top that makes me just grab a bottle of it and just shake the shit out of it onto the food when I have it at home. But like he is so again human. Like I like
Mm.
that is one of the strengths, is one of the objectives of this film, is make the almost imperceptibly inhuman human. The way he talks about his family, the way he talks about his children, I think he is very funny, or his child, like every time with the kid, like towards the end, whenever Thena just like summons a spear to skewer an orange just to kind of
Mm.
show off for the kid, that like your babysitting privileges have been revoked like forever. I hope you know that. Everything from that, to the scene with Icarus in the dining room, but the way he is just straight mogging Icarus on the beach.
Dude, it's sick as fuck.
But again, like there's a
is.
human level
Like
to that where
watching that,
like
I was like, yes, King, go off. Show his ass right now. Show his ass. Because every Icarus underestimates every single other member of the Eternals. Icarus fully
yes.
believes that at any moment he could dog walk any single one of them without hesitation, without fight, without any kind of uh, opposition, genuinely. Like
In
he
Icarus's mind, everybody is low diff next.
yes.
In fairness, he has been told that for like thousands of years.
Sure.
Correct. But the moment that they start pushing back, he realizes that he is exponentially outmatched.
Mm.
And you see that with Makari. You see that where she is about to fucking put him through the cliff, through the earth's crust, because she is upset and emotional, and she is too far gone for him to be able to stop without just doing her dirty.
Yeah.
And then you see Fastos where he is able to restrain him in a way that Icarus never believed that would ever be possible. How can you restrain the how can you stop an unstoppable force? How can
How
that
can
is
you stop Ike Harris? No.
how like that's how he views himself. How do you stop an unstoppable force? And Fastos is like with a collar, with a cage.
Mm.
And what I
And
love so much about
nasty.
what I love so much about the performance in that moment, again, like coming back to that human element, like it felt very, again, like a very organic, like we've all had an instance like this way where there's somebody who we do not like, who we do not care for, who for some time we have decided we're going to fucking put up with. Especially when we're surrounded by mutual acquaintances, that the moment you are given the opportunity to tell him how you really feel, it's that way where he's like, I've been waiting a long time to clip your wings, boss. Like it is just the way he like it is, and
The
like, and
clip
it's
your
that, and that
wings
is the
line
fury.
is honestly nasty.
That is the fury of a father whose child is in danger.
Icarus,
It's just it might be one of my favorite moments of the whole film, and I think that's why I lean towards Fastos as being so fascinating. But to what you were saying, Taylor, with how Icarus kind of comports himself while fighting the Eternals individually, he is so sure of himself and so sure of the mission that like he doesn't even realize until it's too late that he's just being toyed with and being kept away from the main objective. Like he pulls up thinking he's going to get like a nice sporting fight with Thena, and it's not until the Unimind starts to take form that he realizes
that he's like, oh shit, I've been outplayed, I've been outmatched,
this is a shell game, big dog, and you're
I've been
fucking too dumb to
outmaneuvered.
realize it. just absolutely brilliant. I love how the final conflict plays out.
I'd say the last 45 minutes is definitely the best. Definitely the
By
best.
far,
Hands down.
honestly, by far.
Ironically, more character work in those 45 minutes than the other like hour and a half.
It is unfortunate because the first half is so slow, and it's because they are trying to do such a slow build up for each of these characters. Like I feel like they do want to give each of these characters their flowers, and for that they get incredibly half-assed character beats until like an hour and 20 minutes in.
I feel like for a few of them as well, especially like Icarus, Druig, and Cersei, their arcs are reversed.
Yeah.
They should be the other way around. They should end up how they were in like the Babylon age, as opposed to how they are now. Like they're more realized back then than and I get the whole idea of they've been around for so long, the mind will just gonna go and shit itself. But
no, but like also it doesn't for it doesn't for all of them, and only does for her because Arisham fucked up for some, somehow, some reason.
So I remember Cersei in the comics is supposed to be this party girl. And you get that one scene where they're at the bar and then
they're at a bar. For
No,
somebody else,
she lives and I assume
boyfriend's
works in
birthday.
Camden. Like,
oh yeah,
if you live in Camden, you are not that stoic. Like, I'm sorry.
I
She should
like
be high as
watching it.
fuck.
I'm like, if you want, so the thing that is frustrating with all of these characters is because you do not get an accurate portrayal of them from their Marvel 1-to-1 version. You really don't.
No,
Again, Cersei specifically, because Cersei is based on the Greek myth Cersei, because her power is transfiguration, essentially. Like it is transmutating something from one form to another by touch. It is the myth of her turning men into pigs. It is like that Cersei. Like that is the Cersei we are talking about when we're talking about this version of Cersei with this version of this power set. And we do not get that characterization at all. That woman doesn't exist. Like this is a totally different bitch. And that's fine, but like so many of the other characters suffer from the exact same symptoms. Like you get Athena, who is Athena, but not really drop the A. Like it is tiring because again, we are later on going to get the Greek mythos added into this universe, like world building set. So like how are we going to differentiate those characters from the ones that we have here? Because genuinely you can't, based on the story that we have just been told. The story we have just been told tells us that the Eternals are the basis of these Greek myths. Therefore, the Greek myths we will meet later on down the line cannot be like they cannot be the same. They cannot exist in the same universe, essentially.
And that's fair. I mean, I think for me, like I have an easier time kind of making
Hercules
peace.
cannot exist the same way Zeus cannot exist if Athena is drop the A, Athena.
I think they explain it in a way. I don't think the movie did it. I'm certain the comics do it, where the Eternals end up being.
But the movie definitely does not do it.
No, they end up being like the messengers for like Athena.
Yes.
So like you'd have like people praying to the Athena statues and whatever, and then you would have Athena there.
Show up.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But like again, that is not how this film depicts them in any way. We get that thing where Sprite is telling the stories, and that is the origin of the myth. The origin of the myth of Icarus is our Icarus. That is why at the end of this stupid movie, he fucking flies into the sun.
Oh.
I know writers who use subtlety, and I think they're cowards.
It is so.
He didn't fly too close though.
Directly into. Well, I mean, I think for
Directly
me,
into the
like
center
aside from the explanation of like they become like emissaries for like in
That's
like again
the
like
word I was
like
looking for.
Athena, like, I think is kind of the odd one out because everybody else is like a tall tale or a myth. Where, like, as I heard, Mercury are like the only ones who are like, and Cersei are like gods, you know. And I think that for
I
the
mean,
most part,
if we're not looking at greater, again, Icarus is also a part of that.
sure. But what I was gonna say is like I think a lot of them, like the ones that like that you run into like a little bit of like a continuity cosmology issue. I think you can very also easily just kind of look at that and go, there is probably an Athena and an Athena. And you know, because of the name similarities and they're both these like, you know,
Well, yeah,
legendary
no,
lady
obviously,
warriors,
yeah.
like people started to conflate the two, you know. And like when you know, all of these Greeks are calling Athena, and she's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, doesn't matter, I'm just here to piece up these ugly fucking monsters and go home, you know. That like, it's sure, I'm the goddess of war, fine, cool, sing 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 sing, sing. Okay, cool, I'm out. Like I can make, like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but like it's easy for me to make peace with that, you know. Like like that doesn't bother me too much, but it is also one of those elements that I wish they could have addressed, you know, especially when something like Thor: Love and Thunder is just down the road. You know, like it is not too far away. It is only one, two, three. It's three. There's three projects between Eternals and or I'm sorry, four. Between Eternals and Thor: Love and Thunder, where I wish there could have been a little bit more cohesion there, especially because Thor: Love and Thunder does so much cool shit, like with the limited time with the pantheons. You know, that they do the whole thing where it's like, oh, all the pantheons are real,
Yeah.
like everything is equally real. Like Thor, the god of thunder, and Hercules and Zeus are all just as real as Bast. Like these are all of these deities, all of these cosmologies are real. The reason they're all real is because all of this crazy shit that's happening in our world today was equally crazy and wild shit was happening then too. Y'all
Or
just didn't
also
see it
because of
and we
that
were too
one
primitive to
supernatural
understand it.
episode where if you believe enough in a thing, it becomes real. Shouts out to supernatural viewer.
Shout out Chainsaw Man as well.
Shout out Dimension 20.
No.
Fuck you.
If you believe in something enough, it becomes real.
People are the vehicle through which the universe cares. But yeah, like I said, I come away from Eternals with like kind of a sense of disappointment, and maybe it's a disappointment that exists with less to do with the movie and more to do with the movie's legacy. More to do with the fact that so much is set up here, so many cool ideas. So again, there's so much shit here in like the very end, like you said, Mitch, like the last 40 minutes of this film, including the credit scenes, including the very end, that I'm like, okay, I'm there opening night for the second one. Not just because it's in the MCU, but because I'm like, okay, like I care about these characters. I love where everything ended. You know, I think all of this is fascinating and compelling. Give me more. What is the next chapter of this story? And not only does it have to
Nothing.
deal with the fact that, what'd you say?
I said nothing.
Oh yeah.
Literally.
Well, and because it, you know, you have the nothing that because the movie wasn't super successful, and like, you know, I also wouldn't be surprised if Eternals to it Eternal was
There was that rumor that we were getting or we are getting that Celestial movie. That was going to be the sequel. I can't remember what the subtitle was.
God, I
and
hope
again,
not.
maybe whatever that is and what that would be. There's also a part of me that would not be surprised if in like the fucked up unfortunate shell game that probably happened after we lose John Majors, that like it's like, okay, we kind of need to move in a different direction and we need to trim the fat a little bit. We also know that like because of shrinkage, because of overhead, because like all the reasons why making movies is more expensive and more difficult and whatever, like maybe taking another pass at Eternals is not the smartest move right now. I don't like it. I understand how we got here. It also has the stink of being attached to the blade of it all. You know, that unfortunate reality that for whatever reason, Blade is the tough nut to crack. It also has to carry that weight. You know, it has to carry so much baggage that kind of leaves Eternals being the guy holding the bag at the very end. That like Shang-Chi and Black Widow, like in that first like burst of post-COVID Marvel, it kind of ends up absorbing the shockwave of perceived failure and kind of leaves
Yeah.
the door open for Spider-Man No Way Home to kind of be the prodigal son returning and being able to be like, and look, and when you bank on your super popular white guy hero, you'll make $1 gajillion, even though this movie was marketed by having it spoiled by scoopers. Like people were there to see the thing that they knew was going to make them clap anyway. And that's not to take away from No Way Home. We're going to talk all about that very soon. I love that movie deeply, 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 very much. But on some level, there is a truth to that. That like, this is the kind of the beginning of having that like, well, if like people perceiving it as if we dangle a carrot, people will clap and will make money, as opposed to like a really fascinating character study here. That again, I like Eternals a lot. I don't think I love it. I wish we got more of it so that I could have grown to fall deeply in love with it, because I think I would have. I think I would
This
have with Eternals too.
movie was doomed the second that bald fuck Feige lied about the Jack Kirby of it all.
What did he lie about?
This man went on stage, looked dead in the camera, completely straight face, and went, "We are going full Jack Kirby." I've never seen anything less Jack Kirby in my fucking life. There's like one hint to Kirby outside of the characters they're using, and that's on that fucking mural in the temple when they all split up. That's completely out of place. I hate it. It's not a crackle in sight. Fucking.
You hear that, Feige? That's how you get Mitch's hope back. Give him some crackle.
Yeah,
Give him
fuck
some Kirby
you.
crackle.
Fuck you, Feige.
You'll never win me back. You'll never win me back.
Okay, all right.
Everybody
needs to
no
chill.
nothing.
I know they'll never invite me to a premiere, but I need everybody
No
to
crackle,
chill.
no
now, okay?
nothing.
Everybody chill.
Fuck Feige. Get rid of him.
Fuck Feige.
Get rid of it.
He's bald. That's why it sucks now. He's a man with hair.
He's bald, and he wants to destroy everybody else because we have hair.
Jesus Christ.
That's why every villain's bald. No.
With that, do we have any other thoughts on Eternals, or are we ready to bring this home?
I like the movie. I've cooled down on the movie a lot over the years. This is the first time I've watched it in probably like 4 years, if anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, this
I've
is
cooled down on
the
that a
first
lot.
time I've watched it since it came out. So yeah.
Same. But yeah, like I said, I'm
It's
not as
fine.
hot on it as I thought I was, but I still like it a
It's
good bit,
fine.
and I wish we could have gotten more. I think this is a franchise within the MCU that with more it could
I
have been
hope we get
massive.
to recast every single actor who is in this movie so I can get to see them again.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because that was like one thing Taylor and I were saying in the audio commentary towards the
I
end.
want to
is
see
that,
all
like,
these bitches again, but maybe not here.
I want them. I want
Angelina
to see them all
Jolie.
again. I don't think they ever come back.
Angelina
You
Jolie,
don't
I
get
want
like
to see her be a badass X-Men villain. I want her to be a sexy, hot X-Men villain. And then I want Richard Madden to come back, and I want him to be a hot, sexy Avengers villain. And then I want Gilgamesh to come back, and I want him to be a sexy X-Men villain.
I want
Black Knight. Give me Dane Whitman.
I want
like
Black
that
Knight.
too.
I want Black Knight and Blade on Adventure so bad. I also want.
I don't even
I
need
want-
Blade with Black Knight. I just want Black Knight.
I want Gemma Chan as Cersei to come back, but I want her to
Yes.
be a sexy evil bitch.
I want
I
Kumail
want
Nanjiani back as
Odyssey.
Kingo specifically.
Cersei, but I want
He will
Gemma
never come
Chan.
back. That man is checked out.
Okay, maybe hot take. I think Kumail's better in Obi-Wan Kenobi than he is here. I don't think Kumail's bad here, but I think I like Haja Lentry more than I like.
I think he's
it's
better
just
here
Haja.
because he has more to do.
Everyone
here.
in the comments, say who's shocked that Jarod thinks the Star Wars role is better than anything else.
I think this role is better because he has more to do.
No, legitimately, I will say I think Kinko's best moment is like after he's like razzing Sprite, and then when the deviants show up, the way he like tackles Sprite and like there's like legitimate terror in his voice as he goes to intercept her, like again, I could have done with more of that because, as we said earlier, and I don't want to beat the horse more, like some of these performances, while these actors are doing their jobs well, a lot of them are one note. Like there is a defining character trait for a lot of these characters. Like Gilgamesh loves Thena.
Yep.
Thena is scary and dangerous and kind of out of her mind for reasons that are not her own. Cersei is kind of lost in the world, but like loves the world nonetheless. Sprite is envious. Icarus is dedicated. You know, Ajak is mom. You know, like everybody kind of has these things, and Kingo is incredibly vain and
Mercari is a klepto, and Druid is the hive mind.
You know, like Druig's the bad boy. I also gotta say, I thought I liked Druig more than I did.
I never liked that guy.
He wore on me a lot on the second time. And I was in the audio commentary. I was like, oh, yeah. And look at his little bad boy leather jacket with his bad boy sleeves, bad boyedly unzipped on his bad boy leather jacket.
Granted, that is who Druig is.
Right.
That's Druig's entire like he's supposed to be the bad one of them all.
Sure. I'm just saying that like very quickly I was like, oh, this is like everybody has one defining characteristic that kind of just is their thing the whole time. I think that's why I like Fastos so much. He feels more multifaceted, and Kingo having the moments where, Kingo having those moments where he's like, he kind of puts his foot down, and it's like the family comes before the vanity. That I really appreciated, but
a lot of the whole characterization stuff I put down more on Chloe than anything. I think you got a bit of you're gonna love this one, a bit of a Lucas and Christensen situation going on here. Not a great character director, but then the actors can do it. It's not being given a lot to really chew on. But.
Sure. I mean, there might be that. I think there's also just like there's so much to do here. Like how like it's hard to do it's hard to do Kirby shit in live action, even if you're not doing like the Kirby aesthetic. Even if you're not doing the Kirby aesthetic, but like these ideas and these characters are so like larger than life and like cosmic and godlike to the point where they do stop feeling like people. You know, I think the fact that Chloe
I don't buy that for
personalize them
second.
Inside of one movie, there's a lot going on, and a lot of this movie is about what
there's a lot going on in this movie. Yes, I agree. There's too much going on in this movie.
And that's what I'm saying. I think if the movie is boiled down a little bit more and like we have a plot and not like we said,
if the movie
would
boil those bones, honestly, I think it would be so much better.
But yeah. With that, do we have any other thoughts on Eternals?
I want to know. What are you gonna say?
I have no thoughts.
No. I want to know why the Celestials look more like Celestials in the two other movies they've been in. That's not this one.
Do you mean Ego? I asked that during the
no, because Ego's not a Celestial. Fuck James Gunn for that one.
Actually, they are Celestials according to the MCU. Him and
the MCU's fucking wrong. That's why Volume 2 sucks. You can tell James Gunn wrote it, and that's why
I don't give a fuck because this is canon in the MCU, and that's what we're
Guardians 2 is not canon. Fun fact: that movie.
MCU is canon.
I love how I get all of my friends shit on me for how I talk about Guardians 2, and I was like, y'all could not handle some of the other people I know.
MCU is canon.
People only like Volume 2 for the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes are not warranted in the
I love when Yondu accepts that he's a father figure because my dad died, and it makes me happy. So. Can you tell me I'm wrong for that? Go ahead.
Yeah, because we only saw him for 5 whole seconds out of 2 million. Who gives a shit about Yondu?
My dad also was only a dad for 5 whole seconds of my life. So
wow.
So how about we all feel bad about that now?
That was a lie.
It was a lie. My dad was pretty good to me for like at least more than 5 seconds.
There you go then.
All right, with that, I'm gonna take the reins here and land the plane.
Gonna turn the episode off.
Mitch, where can the lovely people find you, brother?
You can find me on the blue skies at Mitch692. You can find me on YouTube at the Mitch692 channel, where you can find Jarod as well, doing Pro and Noob. We are, as of this, halfway through Return to Shiganshina for Attack on Titan.
What season is that? Do I know what it is?
Season 3.
I know what's going on
It's
now.
the trolley problem episodes.
I don't know what that is. I don't think I was paying attention.
You
to
do.
that.
It's whenever they have to pick between saving Erwin or Armin.
Wow, spoilers.
Well,
Could
I
have just said
would've-
My Soldier's Rage. No.
No,
That's going
I
to be
wouldn't
even
know
less
because I'm a dum dum and I only watch because I'm like, hey, who is that guy? I watch like a straight guy watching Love Island in his girlfriend's house. That's how
You
I
said
watch
Love
Attack on
Island.
Titan.
My brain went Fruit Island there, and I hate the fact that I know what that is.
No, Love Island. Like Jared was watching Love Island, aka Attack on Titan, and I was like, so who's that? What's he doing? And Jared was like, that's Aaron Yeager.
He's a funny little goober.
And I was like, he seems like a little weirdo. And he was like, a little bit. And I was like, who's that bitch? And he was like, oh, that's Miyazaki, right?
Mikasa.
Whatever. Close enough.
Miyazaki's the Ghibli guy.
Yeah, I knew that. As soon as I said it, I was like, that's wrong. That I was like, he's better than this. And he said Mikasa, and I was like, she seems like she's not all with it in the head.
Yeah. But yeah, go watch Pro and Noob. The Attack on Titan
Yeah.
season of Pro and Noob has been my favorite season of
I think
of
my
the show
favorite
so
season
far.
too, because it's the only season I've ever got involved in tangentially.
But hell yeah,
The
yeah,
other
go
ones
check out
that
Bitch
I
Six
was
Nine
like,
Two. But Taylor, where can the people find you, my dude?
God, don't find me anywhere. You can find me on Blue Sky, I suppose, at Quicksilver Girl, GRRL. That's it. Don't find me anywhere else. Jared, anybody finds you where?
Anybody finds me on Instagram and Blue Sky at Dark Jedi 2552. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, wherever you get your podcasts, and on the nerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Will you be
Speaking-
my best friend?
You can be Taylor's best friend. $5 patrons get early access to every
Yeah, they
episode
know
of the Road to
everything about
Doomsday
me, actually.
and exclusive access to our
They
audio
do.
commentary
Jared
tracks.
tells me I could tell them everything.
I never said that.
Jared's like, yeah, you can
Um,
tell them whatever you want on the audio commentaries
never
for
know.
movies. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll tell them whatever I want.
I believe Taylor.
I do actually tell them whatever I want during the audio commentaries of the films. So if you want my raw, unfiltered thoughts, you can go to the audio commentaries for these movies on our Patreon, and you'll find my very raw and unfiltered thoughts. Especially with the thing that's coming up soon, I believe Black Widow.
This is after Black Widow.
God damn it. My favorite movie. I love hot women with big guns.
There it is. But $10 patrons also get shout outs at the end of every episode. So thank you to Paco and Ray Clausen. Stay tuned to the Nerd Academy Podcast YouTube channel as we are heading into both Daredevil Born Again Season 2 season and Maul Shadow Lord season. So expect regular uploads of TNAP and KNR to cover those episodes. This will be in the rear view for you guys by this point. I'm making sure I have the list right. But our first episode covering Maul Shadow Lord will have special guests Alex and Molly Damon on from Star Wars Explained. So check that episode out as well as the rest of our coverage. Star Wars Explained
When
TNAP crossover. Maul Shadow Lord starts on the 6th.
No, I mean
Not
this.
today.
What?
I don't know. I can't tell. I can't see the calendar from here.
Hold
Jared's
on.
about
I
to
can
make
do
me go
math.
look at
Hold
it.
on.
Tell me how many weeks.
Jared's
So
about to
Loki
make
comes
me
out
go
on the
look at
6th.
it.
Then Black Widow on the 13th. Then Shang-Chi on the 20th. And then I believe Eternals on April 27th. So we'll be actually we're closing in on the end of Maul Shadow Lord. So stay tuned for that.
That's what,
But-
7 weeks away? Something like that.
Yeah.
So
So
many
we'll
weird.
actually be halfway through season 4 of Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, do
So
I know
check, yeah.
more about that season?
That season you do know quite a lot
You
about.
know a lot about that season, yeah. That's it. It
I
probably
I want to do
gonna
a
be like the biggest episode of that season.
I want to do so badly an episode with you guys about Attack on Titan, about the show that I know nothing about.
I mean, fuck it, why not? Why
The
not?
show that I have only seen so many episodes. I have so many questions. I don't know who anybody is. I don't know what they do, but I'm emotionally attached
Would it-
to at least two of
Would
them.
explain the first 3 seasons or 2.5.
Honestly, if you could, that'd be great. I have no idea what happens.
You're not
I
allowed to come on Pro and
genuinely
Noob
don't
until you
know.
watch Evangelion.
Absolutely not gonna do that.
Oh,
Would
why
never.
not?
I don't wanna. Please, I don't
But
wanna.
why?
Jared
But
keeps asking me.
why?
I don't wanna. It's
But
not. It's not
why?
up my alley. It's not
Look,
up
you're
my
gonna
alley.
have a new Evangelion, and he's gonna be just as bad, if not worse. You might
It's
as well get
not
over it.
up my alley. It's not. I promise you. Look,
I
I
bet
love.
you is.
You want
I
to know
bet
what
you.
my favorite thing is? X-Men Evolution. That's my favorite thing that is animated ever to exist.
If I
okay?
told you that that goth rogue in that is basically Shinji Ikari,
It won't work because he's not sexy. She is sexy.
I mean, it depends for you.
I watched that while I was a kid, and I was like, I am a lesbian, and I was for a while until I started like boys too.
There's Misato in there though.
Okay, I don't think they're going to be anywhere near as hot as a Rogue and
Oh.
Kitty Pryde dancing, the Faith and Buffy the Vampire Slayer dance, but in animation. I
How
don't
did
think
we
anything will
manage
ever.
2 episodes in a row
Where
of
I
The
say
Road to
that
Doomsday where you
specific-
specifically say that sentence if those words in that order?
Because they are too fine, and I should have a I need a little like clip box that Jared won't give me. Jared won't let me have a clip box, but if I did, it would be there where they're like dancing.
Watch Evangelion, then you can have one.
I don't want to. So I guess I'll never have it, and that's fine. I'm fine with that actually. I'll have it in my brain.
Are you
I don't
fine
have-
with that though? Are you actually?
It's okay. I'll have it in my own mind.
You
It
don't
happened.
look fine though. You
It
don't look like
happened.
you're fine about it.
I love how my mind palace is me
happened.
going full schizo trying to figure out like really weird introspective anime, and Taylor's mind palace is her having a soundboard.
Yeah, mine is literally lizard, 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 lizard.
Can't you do that as
lizard.
one Jared has?
Yeah, I could, but Jared doesn't let me have it.
No.
First of all, my soundboard is all just knobs to regulate.
Most
Audio input.
soundboards are like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
it doesn't have the
I
fucking
also
buttons,
assumed
or if
that
I
they
push
were
it,
like that.
or if I push it, it's like Alex Jones growling and shit.
I bet you could make it do it.
I feel like yeah,
Functionally, I could not because there are no buttons. It's all knobs.
if I
Yeah, but
had the
you touch
soundboard-
that thing and it breaks. So I bet anyone
lizard,
else could do
lizard.
it.
All right, we're gonna land the plane here because the episode. It wasn't a Mitch episode before Taylor and Mitch yanked the controls of the train and drove it off the fucking rail.
We didn't do anything about a train. We
What's it say?
aren't even on a train.
All of that to say,
Evangelion, yes, we are.
there.
I'm not.
Stop.
I refuse to be on that train. I do. I refuse. I
There's,
will.
there's
I
no.
will.
Everyone's on that train.
Nope.
It's
I'll
just-
die. I'd rather die than be on that train. And I will die. That's a
I
hill I,
mean,
will
maybe the
die
train's
on.
heaven.
I've staked myself.
Okay. As we continue through
Staked
phase
myself.
4 and the multiverse saga, up next week, we are going to be catching up with Clint Barton and meeting up with Kate Bishop in a holly jolly little romp through
And
New York
definitely
City.
not Yelena Belova.
And definitely not Yana Belova. In Hawkeye,
The hottest one
as we head towards as we're starting to get a little bit closer to a certain webhead movie that I'm very excited to talk about coming up soon. But we'll talk all about Hawkeye next week as we take the next steps on the road to Doomsday.
Bye.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!